Welcome to our lovely future humans, our 5D collective. To those who are new, if you want, before you tune into this one, you can tune in to yesterday's episode. I'm really tired of the fake regulated leaders, and today I'm really wanting to share how I've spotted a thing or two. Those fake regulated leaders, they invalidate our human potential. They make it seem like it's normal for everybody to be on the low emotional intelligence scale. And then they also make it seem like we are not capable, the human beings, to be, all blissed out and stuff. So when you meet spiritual bypassers, and they're also somatic bypassers, one and the same, they don't think that we can achieve our maximum potential. While I know we can because I embody it, but I can't make you believe in me because you can't live in my body. The proof is within the scientific community, and some people don't believe in the scientific community. Some people also get triggered by the fact that we do today know how the adolescent brain works, and that's because they don't like to hear about how the adolescent brain doesn't have access to the executive decision making function areas. Okay, so when someone gets triggered because they don't want to hear information, well, it's not going to be for the emotionally intelligent one. Nobody cares about my needs because we're people who know what healthy, self-worth, and empowered, all of that. Okay, so it's logical for a person to be triggered and reactive when they don't like what they hear. It's most important to note when you can relate the least, because you're going to be more vulnerable to invalidating people in ways that are completely unreasonable for them to manage on their own. So when I notice emotionally immature people, I don't react. I only notice when they point out you're triggered or you're defensive, because I'm doing the personal growth and the spiritual growth. So it's really fun when you have this high level of emotional intelligence. It's very frustrating for people to tell you that you're faking it. Okay, so I know that with my mouth, there's no point in trying to say I can prove anything, but you know what I know is going to give it to you? And I also know that the only ones who stick around are the same ones who like the ventral pivot. Check out PayHip. It has a free PDF, and it's going to have a new one for, in addition to the smart ventral pivot, you're going to also have the smart micro habit pivot. Okay, so the more you cannot relate to something, the more information you want, because you're going to be vulnerable to creating what is called a bigger problem through invalidation and unrealistic expectations. And what that means is when we're near each other, 1 person, 2, 10, whatever, we can dysregulate each other because we can get irritated with each other. Now, while it seems straightforward, people who don't know the attachment trauma education have a lot of stories for you and a lot of words. I have the embodied brain for you, because that's what we are made of. Okay, so we don't want to minimize our higher human potential, and we don't want to minimize the intelligence that we can achieve to validate low intelligence, maladaptive patterns of behavior from those who are emotionally immature, deciding not to go to a mindful, good therapist and more to get regulated, to get a hold of their window tolerance, to then move into that which is the absence of charged pain points and the presence of, I discern when I have charges, I discern when I have those core wounds being activated, I discern when I have effective realism, I discern, and I have fun. And actually with executives, the actual ones in big companies, the good ones, they want this. The bad companies, they don't give a shit, but they use a bunch of smoke and mirrors and words, and those of us who are smart will spot them because they will have terrible company culture, and their employees will all be quite survival defensive mode, and or pretending it. So with that being said, that's a whole other conversation we're going to have, because I have a plan for companies in general just to chit chat about this. I recently had an experience, and it was quite unpleasant. In fact, I'm formulating at this moment in time the email that I want to send, and that if they are a smart company, they will take note of, because when you see people who are not collaborating with their team members and they're part of the same team, even though it's 2 different companies, you say that merger or whatever the fuck you want to call it, bullshit, because I'm completely with the disservice. Like for 10 days at this point. And the only reason I'm not going to make it public, like the name, is because of the thing of these people that decide not to take accountability. So I'm just going to make it a conversation for those of us who are maximizing our lifetime here to leave a legacy behind. And we understand why policymakers, professionals, and researchers, the intelligent ones who do know what humans are made of, are coming together. They will always come together because the changes that are made come because of advances. Those who want to react and think that science doesn't know what it's talking about when it comes to the embodied brain and the adolescent 11 to 25-year-old, so they don't like the word executive decision-making function area, they don't like the words nervous system, they don't like the word trauma, they don't like any of the words. Those are people who are triggered by those words. The ones who think that we need to all meet the low bar also are triggered. So we have two groups. The groups are people who don't know how to discern when you get triggered and reactive. It's okay. We all can be reactive. I know that the first 5 takes of this, I was like, but I was like, I want to make a logical conversation while also expressing how frustrating is it for you. When you tell people that you don't suffer life, tell me how many times you've heard you're faking it. How about you're a cold bitch or you're an asshole or some shit? They didn't tell me that in my face. But you better bet some people actually think that there's something wrong with me. I mean, like, seriously, it's not even funny. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. I mean, aren't we all different? I don't understand. So the reason I speak like this, though, is because I only was able to give grown-up words to who I am and what I am. A person who, like you, has a nervous system, thanks to all the attachment trauma education that adds to the value of the personal growth mindset practices on Pay It for you. Because intelligence, it thrives. So the future humans are here because we embody that which is the ventral vagal state that Stephen Porges is continuing to do research on. So we don't want to invalidate those who don't have a window of welcome. We also don't want to create unrealistic expectations. But we can talk about what dysregulation looks like. We also can talk about how I don't dysregulate, and or however you want to, if you want to put that I do, because panic attacks might be considered that. I know how to modulate, get into my window tolerance and in my window welcome, and to regulate and do all the things that you've heard me, the stories about. Those who are new, you don't know it. So it's not really something that I think needs a medal of honor. And I don't think companies that care with smart human beings are looking to put medals of honor. I think they're capable of discerning what we're made of because they're smart to know the embodied brain works a certain way. Why would you not actively go and learn about the flow state? And once you learn about it, if you've learned of it the right way from all of those who teach you how to fish, you'll have known about the embodied brain. In fact, so much so that people are like, excuse me, the body does keep the score and the mind does keep the count. So please, let's not say the flow state is only the brain. It's an embodied brain. It's common knowledge for the smart ones of us. Thank you so much for enlightening us with your consistent research and your consistent effort to enlighten us with what the brain is made of. That's how people who are intelligent will respond to that, which is the addition to knowledge. Those who are reactive bring us back to the kings and queens, and that comparison, well, it's a fallacy. It's okay. There's already a group of people who think we're demons and devils. We know that. One day, knock, knock, who's there? Well, you know, it's the people you don't want to have anything to do with. Since that sun that you don't realize is a star is going to do the thing that the scientists know how to explain, can I ask you, the kids you say you love, can we take the kids you say you love off the planet? No, you are setting unrealistic expectations on those children. You're teaching them fake information. Oh, the belief isn't proof. I believe in God. I'm talking to him right now. That's right. I'm the demon devil person because you believe in God only from those books, the way you've read it. Again, you love your children, you said, right? So this is how the death is going to go, just so you can see this. We've had, unfortunately, enough incidents where we have this on a video. It's not fake. Oh, we won't do it live because that would be a crime. Again, the star. Yeah, no, you don't. Okay, well, hey, so here's where I'm trying to present to you all something that I've personally understood. When you see YouTube land with a bunch of people validating charges, it's why I call them Peter Pan and the Lost Boys on Never Never Land. 3D, 4D brothers and sisters, but they're all suffering and with an unsteady self-image, and they could take themselves to get healed, and then they could become grounded in reality, mystic, spiritual, and mindful. So creating unrealistic expectations is something that caught my ear, because also the invalidating. Imagine if I had believed those who suffer life when I stopped venting. And I asked 2 people to help me. Like, you're only human. You can't stop venting. You're not Jesus. You're not Buddha. Well, one Sadhguru mentions we can be Jesus, Buddha, and him. Number 4, we're all ventral vagal states, and that's why I didn't need yoga. I use my ventral vagal state. I can explain to you why I know how to do the ventral pivot. I can explain to you how it feels to be blissed out all the time. I can explain to you the 4 ways the flow state goes, and why. I can explain everything about this restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person, which I won't. But luckily, with you being still here, do you know when I explain this stuff, what happens? I have had 2 people I've explained the suffering bit to, out of which one got reactive with me. But I was able to say, I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm just saying this is how I feel when I cry. It's fine. When I'm angry, I'm fine. I am just saying, no, I'm not a software or hardware. I'm not rewiring myself. I'm a whole self. I don't change myself. I am myself. How many more different ways do I have to get? Okay, so this is a person who's sharing with somebody else who's probably like, yeah, okay. Pause yourself. Take a moment. Breathe like I'm doing right now. The other person eventually came around because they witnessed it. Now, they had to see it to believe it. Jesus, thank you. As Jesus points out, blessed are those who believe without seeing. As Jesus points out, forgive for they do not know. As Stephen Porges confirms, biologically rude people don't know they're dysregulating and getting in your face for no other reason except for the 5 core wounds, their trauma history, blah, blah, blah. So there is no evil in any human being out there. There's a Michael Stone forensic criminologist scale. They all need therapy. But my point is, there's no evil inside the bodies. They're all people, and they're all people with implicit memory, and children who were, whatever it is. It doesn't. They're all human beings who can learn to maximize their human potential. But I won't invalidate them, nor will I make them have to ventral pivot. But how about you disengage from invalidating the ones of us who know how to do it? And then the ones of us who know how to explain it. How about you disengage from putting emotional intelligence on some pedestal and using big fancy words instead of letting me tell it to you this way? Be yourself. Now I know it just means that you need to first know how to do your nervous system sovereignty and ventral pivot. Be a person who can look anybody in the eyes with the person of grace from yesterday. Forgive, compassion, dignity, humility, and then on the floor, thank you, Peter Levine, for humbling this human being in front of you, because I knew something was up with those fucking 3 twin flames, and it ain't because I'm pissed at them. It's because I knew something was up the minute that it got that level of like, what the heck? I know you're people in flesh. Like, this is not Pinocchio. This is what happens when you're a person who's grounded in reality, and then you meet human beings and you've known them your entire life, and you spot the non-bilaterally integrated brain that distorts things, that begins to project, and you're like, something. And then you get to finally meet the heroes of the day, which are all the scientists who explained it to me, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness. I would have been able to be such a better friend and a better human being throughout all of these things had I known all this shit, which is amazing shit. It's not shit. So that's how it works. And being invalidating, eventually you just get used to people thinking that you have to no, they're not thinking. People don't buy what you do or why you do it. They buy what resonates with how they feel life. So they buy how they feel life, and then they say, I want to go with it is right, not feels right. In the meantime, you're all feels. Okay, so when I notice people that are validating each other and invalidating us, I'm like, well, it's about time to say, excuse me. Some of us, we don't collapse, we don't submit. Some of us are healthy perfectionists. We know we have strengths and weaknesses. We're objective. Yeah, I have weaknesses. I don't think that I'm unworthy because of them. Actively, my child parts are alive thanks to me having the luck to stay alive and to have said, why would I ever not love? I mean, you don't know how to love. It was just a conversation by the time I was 11, 12, 13, 14. So when you are not with core wounds that bleed, but you are aware of what core wounds are, and that those who are still bleeding could actually heal themselves and disengage from projecting their misery, also projecting their suffering. And what I mean by that is, okay, if you suffer life, you suffer. Some of us don't suffer life. Instead, it actually is a position that you have to defend. So defending your position of I know how to be in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, I know how to be in a restored embodiment, I know how to self-regulate. Every time my emotional stuff comes up, oh, sometimes I'll hiccup. I'm so sorry. Yes, I've yelled at people in their face. You know, I know how to have that which is called composure and dignity, and that's because I chose the high road, and I know how many people that I, to this day, will look in the eyes and love to death and spot that they don't know how to do it, and how much I wish. Not because they have to be like me, no, because I want their health. You teach a person how to fish, then they can fish for the rest of their life. But guess what I am? I'm faking it. I got some problems. Whatever it is that comes out of the mouth of the people who validate the pain and the pain points and all their charges and don't notice that, yes, you can be happy, you can be surprised, disgusted, sad, angry, and, oh, lo and behold, fear, and that's with a grounded in reality ventral vagal state because you got a prefrontal cortex. I'm so sorry. I got lucky in life. What can I say? So you eventually lead yourself to leave it alone and welcome aboard because it is very boring, frustrating, but at the end of the day, let's not invalidate their pain, their suffering, or their unsteady self-image, but let us remind ourselves that emotionally immature people have a choice that they might not choose. So at that point, it's not about dehumanizing them, and it's not about needing to use any evil. No, some people will continue with what they will continue. We're actually called demons, monsters, evils by those who want to tell us that they're the chosen ones. I'm thinking still of the children that they're bearing and boring and whatever, and that they say they love. That's not love. Love is where I will want you not only to live a physically healthy life, I will want you to live a mentally and emotionally healthy life, and I will take seriously that which is science because it's not bullshit. I will also know how to pick a professional because that's how epistemically curious, disciplined, diligent, and actual human beings who care about people do it. And that is why belief, yes, I believe in God in my bones and my spiritual stuff. I don't need to prove it. And the spiritual bypassing community continues to not fail because they've failed. They're actually spiritual bypassers because they're somatic bypassers and they're failing their own self. We won't ever get to meet their 3-year-old because they're not working with their implicit memory. But this is the part of where people are like, hey, Maria, it's hard. And I'm like, I didn't say it was easy for some, but I know there's opportunities and chances. And all I'm saying is, how about you stop calling humans pieces of shit that we can't do it and stop invalidating the ones of us who are doing it because it's not hard work for us. For those who it was hard work, we say, wow, it's so great to have you here. And they're going to be like, wow, I want to do more of that personal growth stuff too. They're not going to be the ones who say, you have to suffer, you have to go through pain. By the time you become whole, this is just a hunch because I haven't ever been not whole, okay? But if you get whole, then that means you own all of the essence of you as a child. That's the pure child of you. I'm saying the innocence of you. You're not going to say, I want to stay in my trauma. You're not going to be arguing to do personal growth, spiritual growth. Do you know why? You are you. And now I'm going to cry. You're going to be you. So who does a disservice? They do a disservice to themselves, not to me. And when someone's going to use God's name and talk about evil and monsters, they're the inconsistent liars who a 3-year-old will be like, you're all lying. I know what a manipulator is because my mom taught me. And luckily I know how to say, you can't manipulate me. Because that's how it works when anybody's wielding their words in a way that has a end game. Not because they want to manipulate in a way of being, no, but because we all have a nervous system. So if I come in with, I'm going to try to impose my way on you, you're going to notice it. I was a teenager like anybody else, and so we all have ego self. But when you're a person who understands how to be, there's your person of grace. We read it yesterday. Man, woman, they of grace. If you're new, you didn't hear it, I'll read it to you if you're curious. A person of grace. Compassionate, kind to all, and everyone deserves to be treated with respect, by the way, because here it uses unmerited, but we don't want to use that word because this is where you invalidate another person's experience by thinking that you can say who deserves it and doesn't. Everyone has a reason for why they are how they are, and if they're emotionally immature, they lack conscious capacity to wield those thoughts, and the biological rudeness is not a choice. This is not an excuse, it's an explanation. Those who don't like it, they don't like to hear how our adolescent brain works either. So reacting to others with forgiveness, reacting. That means you turn the other cheek. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. Thank you, Jesus. The kingdom of God is within everyone. Thank you, Jesus, again. And we don't cast stones and we don't play God, but we are a speck of that which is love. So that just means you're a person who has the function or child, adult, restored embodiment. You're humble because ego and self work like a team and the soul doesn't get tainted. And when someone wants to objectify, dehumanize other humans, they have a beef with them. That's their beef, not our beef. We don't carry on the baton of trauma because we're not going to point the finger, betray, humiliate, manipulate anything, reject, or the manipulate came out, but that's not part of the core wounds. But anyways, my point is we're not going to need to manipulate. It's okay. So we all have effective realism, and some can discern it and some can't. We all have ego and self. Some will be mature enough to know how to use their brain. Oh, those who have mental clarity are valuable to every single bit of anyone who's smart, but that's because we're all valuable to being able to create a sustainable environment, a sustainable globe, and made by the people for the people. So we also know exactly how we can support humanity to keep moving forward in the future, and we're not Chicken Little, so the sky ain't falling. That's why we're grounded in reality, mystic, spiritual, and mindful. So spiritual and religious people, all of them, the ones who are the real deal, they're not going against science because science proves how to heal every single bit of everyone, but above all, it's not a competition. So people who have competition between words, they don't like, there's a bunch of words, there's a bunch of pieces of information, they get overwhelmed. So your brain can't fall out of your asshole if you're a person who discerns mental, emotional activity, and then you love learning. It's called epistemically curious, disciplined, diligent people. I love learning. Every day I learn something new. And I can't fuck it up. It's okay. So you don't shame yourself. You see what I'm saying? This is a kid who's like, there's no stupid questions. Actively, I learned about a show that the only reason these experts are answering this grown woman is because they told them that it's a show. And I'm like, that's wrong. I have those questions. I'm not stupid. I want to ask the question. So what? You're playing to crowd now. And so this is where the fake regulated leaders, you'll see as they tell you about all the successful ones and how to ask them questions. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when you have the innocence of you, you don't find any question dumb because that child inside of you actively is like, there's nothing that. And when someone tries to shame you, you're not going to be like, oh no, but that's because you have the solo self, relational self, inner self, and the mui, intra self. You're grounded in yourself. So you don't look for others to validate how you feel or how you think. You're a differentiated self, so you differentiate and link. And so this is why we don't need to get your approval because I don't care. Now, this is where I'm going to spell it out in a different way. Every one of you has a 3-year-old, so you'll know what you have as your maladaptive patterns of behavior that you are adapting and that you're moving into grown-up. So I still have a 3-year-old with the primary caregiver, and here's where when I think about the capacity to not care about thumbs up, thumbs down, it's a very specific way that my life has been, is that you're doing your homework for you, not for me. You're doing your life for you, not for me. So by being shared, the life and the things you're doing, I'm not going to be around all the time, so you're doing it for you. So this hard work or whatever it is that I put forth, it's for me, and then I'm sharing it with the world. And so that's why it's very specific. You have your story, I have my story, but none of us need a superhero or a supervillain. People who need to be motivated by victory and loss, I mean, it's really sad is how I'm going to put it, but everybody's motivated differently. So obviously I can't know how you're motivated, which is why everyone cares about their own basic needs, and then our emotional, mental, and physical needs we take care of when there's misalignments. And we don't do core wounds or project, and we don't react in ways that are necessary. We react with forgiveness. And so here's our 5D collective and beyond, and being yourself, which is going to be beautiful because you're going to not have any mask. Inside you're like, yeah, you know what, I can fuck it up, but every time it happens you're like, I don't need to get defensive. So we're not in our survival defensive loop, we're actively in our ventral vagal loop, but we continuously pivot to it whenever we're in a room with 1, 10, 20, because that's where you can't regulate others. You can self-regulate, which means then you'll co-regulate. You're in the ventral energy, they might not, that doesn't matter. You can't actually welcome their fragmented states of self, or their basically charged parts. There's a lot of different words, don't write it down because right now I'm bringing a bunch of different ones, but basically anything that's unhealed that can come up, if they project it, it doesn't get welcomed back in. If it's an intimate interaction and they're actually doing work and want to integrate all of them, then they will do that, which is why we're healers. But we're not really healers. And even that word, it's very literate to me. I'm not healing. You didn't have a physical wound. I didn't heal anything. The charge comes up. You're going to share it with me. Actually, what you're doing is sharing your emotions and your thoughts with me, which is an honor. I get to have part of what you are. I would not judge it. Of course, I can think differently. Of course, I could be irritated. Of course, I could think of a million ways you could do it better. I'm not going to step into that because that's not my business. It's your business. But this is the part of when people don't look at their patterns and they continue to repeat them. Okay, well, I mean, in the year 2026, so how about they stop minimizing our infinite higher human potential, our capacity to achieve emotional intelligence, so that they may validate the low intelligence, the pain people with the suffering. And I'm going to read to you something that I wrote on subreddit or in Reddit. There's an IHP group. So before we read that, forgiveness. So you react with forgiveness, humility, and emotional intelligence rather than harsh judgment. You also spot your own reactivity and you work with it because you do enjoy, again, authenticity, transparency, and regulated leadership. We get to also understand how it is to have compassion and forgiveness. And so instead of holding grudges or keeping score, a man, woman, person of grace offers the kindness. They keep using this word unearned. So they're just saying that when you're engaging with an emotionally immature person, their dysregulation will not meet you with that authenticity. But like my facade friend who I love to death, he's a fako. He's an asshole. He's consistently going to be that way. And that's how it works. So you don't let me tell you how to live your life. It's you do you and I do me, and that's it. I unconditionally love. And here's where that's your sovereign blueprint, embodied self-leadership, empowerment, restored embodiment, being yourself. Learn that it's being yourself. That way we can understand that is what it is. Because some will have said, the clinicians that I learned from, the mindful therapists, what if it's not about changing your client? So like now they're all talking about it. They're not changing people who go to them. They're actually giving them to become their real self. And that's why their first transformational experience for those are when they become themselves. And then the second is we get to meet them. And then we continue to transform. And so future humans, again, welcome aboard. You don't have to believe, but I'm from the future. Oh, she's blue. At least she was blue in the actual download I had of her in connection. And so is my multidimensional self that is also, she's active. Oh, shit, there she is. So that's fun, isn't it? Even though that's like the future human of mine, because there's another future human of mine which gets off of planet Earth. So the blue one is like after Earth. Well, when I get off of Earth, I know who I get off of Earth with, and I'm olive skin, but I don't remember what I look like exactly. But yeah, I'm still human. I'm only human. So the other one, I don't even know how many eons from now it would be. Okay, compassion and forgiveness. Instead of holding grudges or keeping score, a man, woman, person of grace offers kindness and is quick to understand and forgive others. Doesn't have to be quick, that added word, but we don't hold on to that which is a charge. You process it. That's what the journaling and the having conversations with emotionally mature people. Dignity and composure. They maintain a sophisticated, refined, and calm demeanor even under pressure, choosing to be a peacemaker rather than engaging in slander or gossip. Obviously, here's where I love to regulate intensity and depth, so it's an ongoing journey to regulate, especially within that dynamic of loved ones, all different people, right? And humility. They focus on serving and building up others, which is what regulated and true leadership does, which is why we create more leaders out of our lovely human species. So please remember, when someone feels invalidated, if they're immature and therefore not yet stable within themselves, they will say, nobody cares about me. You make fun of them, they will feel stupid. They will continue that way until they find who validates how they feel, how they think, how they believe. But if the people who love them actually love them. They will not put, one, unrealistic expectations on the nervous system. They will, two, not invalidate the emotional or mental subjective reality, but they will free talk about how you can work with that window tolerance and how you can move from strength, courage to curiosity. And then they will continue working with them. So, example, my scoliosis. I have a very good 2 sets of exercises because I worked with 2 different professionals. And I did so to the point of where I memorized these exercises. Now, I have other things that I want to do, which I'm less familiar with. The day will come where I might look into someone who can work with me for my specific situation. But what I already have gives me a solid foundation, and I have professionals that I continue to check in with when I need to and to keep me on track. I'm the one who's trying to keep me on track. So the discipline, why? Why does Maria do it? I'd be an idiot if I didn't. And so, for example, I've began the routine again. I have paused. It's been 3 or 4 days. They have noticed a difference, the people around me. As my scoliosis and my back will begin to do this thing of, I'll be less straight because my muscles will weaken. So the part about being aware and then why, if what you do, personal growth and spiritual growth, is because of pain, you're not doing personal or spiritual growth. You're doing, I want to, it's actually a negative survival defensive loop, which is why Dr. Amy Pegan, as she mentions, it's not willpower or motivation, neuroception. And so people who take themselves seriously, who will want to meet themselves, will do the right thing by them, and then we will meet them, and they will join us. Until that moment, those who want to minimize and invalidate those of us who are emotionally intelligent, mentally intelligent, because we're capable of using our ventral vagal state, they can keep doing whatever they want. I'm Maria, and I'm my 46.0 version moving into the 47. I'm not my 2, I'm not my 1. I haven't changed any of that, which is the essence of me. I've matured. I have learned. So yes, I can learn things, and my mind can be changed. Not really, but like my facade friend. I welcomed him back, and when I did, all the loved ones are like, wow, she must really love you. She never changes her mind. And he taught me how not to treat people who are insecure in the ways that I was with him. So I learned how to leave it alone. And then I also learned to spot a timber, which I heard again. When people pretend that they don't give a fuck about who you are, what you want, or whatever, there's a pretend tone. It's a 3-year-old with a 16-year-old who's saving themselves from rejection. Before you reject me, I will reject you. And that's not actually cool. It's sad. In fact, actually, I learned about split thinking from Dr. Daniel Fox and Kylie, and when I heard about what it is, I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. And here's what you also realize eventually is maybe it's a good thing that people don't know what they've actually done when it comes to a specific number and amount of choices based on being afraid of love. It's not something funny. It's not something you get irate about. As a child of God, it's something you say, wow, God, I'm so sad. But the scientists, they figured it out. They can heal them. So, I can't do much. Find it hard to believe that my pussy is life. And that's very sad, but that is what it is. Choice points. So, you know how mystics and spiritual ones work? I'm going to pause you for a minute. Let me finish with humility. So focusing on serving, building up others. You can't build up others, but you can say, I can show you a world. Do you trust me? But I'm not Aladdin, meaning I won't lie and pretend that I'm a prince. Hey, Jasmine, so listen, I got a genie, I got a lamp, I got all this beautiful shit going on. You want to trust me? Let's have fun with it, shall we? What should I do? Should I make myself into Sultan? You make them a part of it. That's what partners are for. So you see, this is partnership, but there are people who don't know partnership. They don't believe. You got a sword, Maria. You know what? I bet you put a spell on me, you bad mystic. You are one of those. So when you hear a twin flame human being coach who says, don't tell your masculine that he's your twin flame because otherwise he's going to put a spell on you, you're going to laugh at that and think, I'm not going to tell any of them who they are, because why would I? They're humans. I don't need to tell them, actually. I have one thing to say. My facade friend, he's an asshole, as always. It seems you think you know what's right, Maria. Yeah, it's called love and cojones, and you don't have any. And I love my friend. That's why I can talk to him in his face. He can talk into my face. He told me I'm a hypocrite. I said you're a hypocrite, and that's how friendships work. We're sheltering trees, but we love each other to death. So interactions are void of pride. That's exactly it. So we don't do the constantly insisting on being right in every argument. Yeah, anyone have fun with that? You're right, I'm wrong. Yeah. So when you have fun with it, default mode network, in case you're new, you don't know it, makes a map of ourselves and others. It is activated even while you're sitting down and doing nothing, and mine's down regulated, and then my insula is activated, and I wheel the left and right together, and that's because you put your left foot in and your right foot in, and you shake it all about. I'm trying to make it fun so you can understand. This part I still remember pretty correctly, but I can review my courses. Mind looks for patterns. It's a pattern detector, and the brain is an anticipation machine, so the survival way. And I have a new course that I'm learning some stuff about, which we'll see about talking about. But my point is relational beings is what we are, but rational is best, because 3D, 4D will continue to embody that reality that is socially defined by them. And also, well, again, I'm going to leave it alone. If you don't take ownership of your identity, become your whole self, then learn how to wheel the left and right. It's basically people who are not going to want to join us. So we leave it alone for us to know what objective truths and what grounded reality means. We don't have expectations from any of that which are people, because again, I can't expect you to be me. You won't expect me to be you, but please let's stop invalidating and minimizing that which is our human potential, because completely I have the best of all worlds. I'm spiritual and mystic, and I embody channeling, downloading, all of the experiences you continue to hear about, and every single bit of the themes that we're dealing with. It's amazing. I am sad for 3D, 4D, but we can't make them join us. Science proves our embodied brain. They're doing a great job. All the mindful therapists are continuing to move into amazing places, and the people are going to them. The capacity for me to know what we are dealing with, I know justice prevails because I've seen cosmic karmic balancing. And also, even before I became a mystic, God, I have no question. Divine order, divine right, whatever words you use. The ones who don't understand this and get irate, I say, faith, I don't prove it. It's in my bones. Life force actively. I believe, was it Peter Levine talked about muscles, bones, and tissues. Muscles, tissue, and bone. I forget, but the 3 layers of how trauma charges get released. And the bone, life force. So when you understand the words epigenetics, genetics, bright sides of neuroplasticity, and you understand the nervous system and all these aspects, Kundalini awakening, I've had 2 Kundalini awakenings, plus besides the ascension with the light body and all that. But smart, good mystic man talked about Kundalini, and he said it's gradual. He said it's not all of a sudden. That's psychosis. That's a whole different thing. People who are activating themselves, though, without knowing anything about their embodied brain, there's mindfulness risks, because if you're non-bilaterally integrated and there's some memory barriers or some stuff, that's why it's not something you take. Your health, you don't take it lightly, is what I'm trying to get to. So if somebody is smart, they'll know of attachment trauma education, and then they will go and take themselves seriously. If they're ignorant of it, or they're minimizing it, or they're reacting to it, they do this: I'm doing great, Maria. And that's called deflecting, as shame will do. And then I don't do, let me tell you who you are, because that's none of my business, because that's not, you don't say you have to do therapy. That's martyrs, blamers. We can share information with each other, and sometimes when I've done it, are you calling me crazy? Are you doing that? I'm not calling you anything. Okay, so FYI, we're here to be ourselves. We don't save ourselves. We don't collapse. The 3-year-old that is in front of you, not my job. I don't carry the weight of the world on the shoulders. That's not anyone's job. Actually, it's 8 billion of us, and I keep thinking of those grown-ass human beings who say they love their children, but they're going to let them die an excruciating, horrible death, like the environment, and everybody who wants to say it's fake, and everyone who likes their beliefs to be what are the real truths, and to basically stay on that. I'm just like, well, hopefully, no, I know that everything will work out. But in the meantime, for those who like to say that's wishful thinking, our species has advanced thanks to human beings who have advanced us. The people who have lack of faith in humanity are usually the ones who also don't know about all of these lovely, amazing human beings out there who are doing things. But furthermore, they will speculate and they will be charged and they will like and not like. So anytime I'm meeting a person who's not clear of mind, it's because they're not clear of heart, because they lack the capacity to discern their affective realism, very strong emotions that feel when they're thinking like irrefutable facts. I might say, well, it is right, that feels right. They will validate each other's charges, pain points, beliefs, and all that. I got a distortion in front of me. I got a projector, distorter, adaptive child with their groupies. Hey, flat earthers, have fun. Peace out. I'm going to go with Neil deGrasse because I'm pretty sure he's going to get us off the planet one day. Hey, virtual reality. Sure, you know what? You keep talking about that. Have fun with your math. I know we need all of you, but I'm going to, again, go where they're tangibly speaking, looking to get us off the planet, work with the environment, do the real things. I'm going to look to come together with the mystic spiritual ones who know also we see everything too. We just know we don't have to make it into, a good team and a bad team. It's emotionally mature, grounded in reality group and that group, which are bountiful. They make millions off each other. They isolate together. They continue to talk about how evil and horrific we are and how we manipulate our words. Oh my gosh, it's amazing how they only know the truth. They know the right way and the wrong way. I mean, it's so obvious where grandiose assholes are at that. So my mind's not blown away. You see what I'm saying? When I see distortion, projection, I'm like, hey, there's a Pinocchio. There's a Pinocchio. Wow, hey, Buddha, come on over. Give me a high five. Hey, Jesus, give me a high five. That's why Buddha was making fun of me. And that's why Jesus was staring me down. And then God chimes in. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. So with that being said, I also have been told I'm rejected, just so you know. And nobody cares about my emotional, mental, and physical needs. That's not true. So you actually do understand, right? It's most important to remember what you can relate to the least. I will not ever be able to relate to the pain that comes from losing yourself because I never lost myself. I will never be able to relate to being afraid of love and actually making it so hard to where it's pulling teeth. I will never be able to relate to distorting and believing someone who loves me actually would want me harm and accuse them of that in a way that seems so true, like Kylie explains in Dr. Daniel Fox, and then to be able to be awoken from that and realize, and then to think, wow, I mean, I won't ever be able to relate to any of that which is distortion because I can discern, and I won't ever be able to relate to that word evil because everyone's a human with a poor 0-1-year-old that I know from the science I've learned what they've been through, and they're 2-year-old and they're 3-year-old, and that's not right of me to be able to you know what I'm saying, like say everyone has to, you don't have to do anything. But I will be able to relate to all of the 0-3-year-olds who are whole, and we all together will say we want to play the game of life the right way. And however many of those 0-3-year-olds who want to join us, they're going to be the ones who make the future better because we believe. And not because we believe in magical fairy tales, by the way. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. We believe. I believe in you. I believe in angels. And that's the part of why faith, you don't prove it. You just have it. I love that I have faith. And if you do want to tune in to yesterday's episode, I shared with you our lovely, intelligent, sentient beings. We don't question faith. And we don't put science or spirituality against each other, which is why we are intelligent. As for low frequencies, they're not dangerous. Actually understand what it means for that which is the low frequency. And so I'm going to leave it alone. Pain is not what motivates you if you are authentically doing personal and or spiritual growth. It is transcending it as an intelligent sentient being and empowering yourself through your nervous system regulation capacity. The aspect of pain is mostly common knowledge at this point for our lovely human species, seeing as our brain is an anticipation machine and our mind a pattern recognizer, or whatever the word was, pattern detector. By the way, when you know there's no enemy out there, that's why universal love. Hey, Dalai Lama, thanks for sharing that. we all know how to love our enemy, because no enemy out there. There's emotionally mature, intelligent ones, and then there's the ones who need to, they won't figure it out, but we will be able to figure out, because we're problem solvers, because we're discerning again and again and again by putting our emotional charges aside, getting together with strategists, all of this stuff. So you don't need it to be a big group. All you need is the people that we've had in the past and the present, and we move into the future. So as I was saying, we have emotional, mental, and physical pain. Those are 3 pains, right? But for the purposes of the post and my content in general, I hone in on emotional, mental, because I do personal growth, spiritual growth. Check out PayHip. So the people who are executive leaders, good leaders with good companies who are making a difference, not the ones who are faking it. The faking it are gonna go and continue hanging out with the 3D, 4D. So that's where I'm talking about the motivator being that which is, hold on for it. So physical pain is off the table. The motivation is for you to grow yourself, not to be in pain emotionally or mentally. And while with those somatic mindset practices and intentional living micro habits, you will all have had different experiences. The experience still will have your body, brain, mind, heart, self navigate reflection and behavior from safety and health. Okay, so when you're doing the growing, it's because you're in the restorative embodiment, you're in the good resilience. In the moment that you're not growing, like I answered someone who asked about self-help books and self-help guidance, that's where mindful therapists are needed. So it's only once you have your window of tolerance, you know how to take care of your basic needs, fingers crossed, our entire world we're going to continue to look to make the environment better, all that good stuff. And some people think it's not possible. We actually leave those people to each other, because when they spell that out, we actually know what they're doing. They're not weighing us down, they're way down, and they're escapist, and their survival mode, and basically their lack of faith in humanity, it will be a detriment to our capacity to brainstorm. They're gonna put bad brainstorming stuff in it, you know what I mean? It's different when someone says, okay, here's all the potential catastrophes with discernment. Okay, here's all the potential catastrophe. Here's all the potential extreme positives. Awesome, okay. So now that we have the 2 extreme sides of a coin, and let's go with average, no, we keep working. So you see what I'm saying? But the ones who say we won't make it, evil wins, we don't need those. I'm possible, I exist, I'm right here. Stop invalidating us. So the ones whose faith in humanity was broken, who drag their feet, their pain is actually weighing them down. The 3D, 4D suffer life, it ain't looking good. It's in the lovely seaweed, that's what they are, basically, from Ursula and the Cauldron of The Little Mermaid, the cartoon. But at the end of the day, that's a figure just to say it's not, something that grows stronger, it grows weaker. It is not funny to watch people become Dorian Gray or whatever, wither away like Dorian Gray. So anyways, when you do personal and spiritual growth, you learn about yourself, you move out of that which would be pain. I matured from teenager to grown woman, those twin flames, all that great stuff. You do understand that not everybody has the same life. So for me, the worst thing is panic attacks. For others, it's something different. This is not a competition. This is not a comparison. The ones who instead think that you're trying to say you're better than them, that's not what came out of my mouth. But maybe you feel pressured because I'm speaking about life as easy, because I'm making choices that you have a hard time making, and I have not a hard time making them. Because I'm okay with speaking up, and that's because I have no shame, and I can speak up in my ventral because I'm not collapsing or submitting because I didn't do anything wrong. So people who are triggered by that which is empowered, real confidence, are the ones who have usually a comeback, which is, or some shit like that, or they don't say anything and then behind your back. Never something that I thought was a challenge or something that I needed to tend to, because I don't deal with cowards well. And that's how I feel and think of people, but they're not actual cowards. So with the humility in the forefront, today I understand, and my heart goes out to them, and guess what I get to be told? That's the part. So the unearned kindness, it's not unearned, because Stephen Porges points out, biologically weird people don't know what they're doing. Jesus points out, forgive for they don't know. Jesus points out, blessed are those who believe without seeing. I've believed in humanity since the day I can remember. I started saying we're humans, because all these people have crap and shit to say on being human. And as for God and spiritual, well, I mean, hey, the ones who want to continue believing in a bad, evil force are the same ones who I say you're not saving anyone. You have a savior complex. And really, it's sad because, yeah, I'm going to leave that one alone. I can perceive every single bit of unhealthy fear within them, and it pains me. Let me out, let me out. Their life is still within them. Let me out, I want out of this armor, please. But it's so painful that they, yeah. So, anyways, that's why Patrick Tian, he points out how, like, the first session in a therapy place is because the emotional body is offline. It's a fetal position. And so when I'm perceiving let me out, it's not a figure speech. It's the people who aren't healing. And I'm like, I would let you out, but they won't even let me near you. That's not, I don't need to be protected from them. They just won't want to be anywhere near me. And that's okay, as even if you're near anyone who does dysregulate, they don't know any better. But they do know they don't know how to self-regulate by themselves. And they appreciate that you will stand and listen to them and be near them. And I will appreciate that moment, that then I'll be sad for them because I'll know that that moment just gave them a little boost of energy but didn't do anything different. So they're still going to wither away like Dorian Gray. Anyways, over time, those of us who do the growth, we definitely find fun in maturing our behaviors, our manners, in transcending those pain points, the core wounds, and the emotional charges. The new PDF that's coming out is going to have a framework for that stuff. And you free up your heart, your soul, even though your soul that doesn't get tainted, but it definitely, like, when you free up your heart, you feel the soul, you connect to spirit, and you feel ascending, and you don't go down, you go up. And as you go up, 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 and away. You don't have highs and lows. There ain't no more of that. It's walk like an Egyptian, and then it's like, oh look, I caught some shit. Oh look, I caught some more. Hey, here's a bunch of shit right here. It gets easy. See what I'm saying? Over time, you can thank my 3 twin flames. No, you can thank the panic attacks and then every single bit of all people. So we're all 3-year-olds. What does a 3-year-old want? I don't want to do it my way, because that's what I decided. And what do we all have? And so we all get to have fun together and deepen our depth, our mature selves. And so anyways, I'm going to leave it alone. You can check out Reddit. There's a group there. And let me read to you a couple of quotes from Sadhguru, and then we're going to head on out. Check out PayHip for the guides, for the free PDFs, for the mindset practices, journal prompts, and let other people know, the ones that you do know, enjoy emotionally intelligent conversations, that we're here. So this one, he says, God does not need your devotion. It is the human heart that needs to experience the peak of emotion, which ventral vagal pivoters, here we are. And here's where I'm not going to agree with this. I'm going to tell you about what I think of this. And that's because, well, one, when I read quotes doesn't mean I'm agreeing with things. It's like when I sing songs. I don't always agree with the lyrics, but they just come to me to share. So FYI. I am letting you know, disclaimer, I do not agree with all things. I will try my best to say Maria thinks, but dear, we're having conversations. I'm telling you about how I don't like to be invalidated, but people don't believe that there are people like us who... Okay, those who are hearing silence, don't worry, I'm not going to be silent too long. The closest and dearest in your life get the worst of you. No stranger on the street gets such a nasty deal. Thank you, Sadhguru. So, when you are maturing yourself, this is inaccurate because you're working with your nervous system. And you're moving into functional child adulthood. If you need Terreal, that's where this would be accurate, because Terreal would make you into a fine functional adult with your partner, and also probably with the entirety of family, because it's about relational. Dr. Daniel Siegel also. So when people are nasty to each other, what we can say is there's dynamics in households. So I can tell you, with my first 5 alloparenting crew, we still have our dynamics, and that's why we continue to grow together. So you don't have unhealed or unresolved issues if you're growing. You're actually processing, you're self-regulating, you're co-regulating, you're creating a safe haven, secure base environment. That doesn't mean we don't have disagreements. We do, but disagreements, misalignments, and having argumentation happens. Now, this is how it feels. That's how easy it is to stand up for yourself and then to continue to want all of those around you to flourish. Does it mean it will work? Doesn't mean. What I'm trying to say is you choose if you're going to emotionally mature, mentally mature, and become the person that you can be, because you hold yourself to the high road, the high bar, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable, because you choose integration, and that you know that your personality patterns and your temperament are going to make their way, and that you're more than just that, and you're more than just ego, and you're more than just self. But we don't need to make it into like a whole fantasy thing of you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings. Because anytime that's happening, I'm like, look, I got it, but we are also it. So please, can we not distance it so much to the point of where we forget that we are actively experiencing. So personality pattern, a collection of values of how emotions, thought, and behavior happen across states of self and stages of life. Temperament, the inborn neural propensities and architectural mental organizations of the nervous system that includes features like sensitivity and intensity. Dr. Daniel Siegel's words. I think I got it from some book, but so, and the mind looks for patterns. That's from classes with him, the brain anticipation machine, classes from him. And here's something that I shared with you following giving you that stuff. So we learned from the past, which it lives through me, bottom up, right? All my emotional stuff. The past gets filtered through the top down, mind to the body. So that's why the mind keeps account, the brain keeps a score. I am thoughts, I am feelings, but I'm feelings first, and the thoughts come after. I discern my effective realism. And so let me give you an example with my mystic story and spiritual. Pleiadian activation, temple of truth, solar plexus. I'm an Akashic record reader, you know that, halls of learning. Okay, so with the twin flame stuff, I'm just going to say I find it quite saddening what they did with it, but I got it. I knew when the pivoting of the 4D bandwidth was no longer and 5D was in and stuff like that. I know our timeline. So without saying who's my twin flame or not, all of the three that I've mentioned are consistently unaware of, well, not to mention they don't believe in the mystic stuff, but they're unaware of the whole oversoul thing and in-depth details and blah, blah, blah. And the people who hear about it, only those who have twin flames believe it, obviously. Then there's the ones who make fun of it, of the spiritual community, which really is not hilarious, but let's leave that alone, because groupies do the same thing. They basically act like teenagers. It's the closest, because that's the last moment I remember knowing that's what insecurity is. And now I'm a grown woman seeing a bunch of teenagers walking around who could use Terrio. Nobody cares about me. They validate gender stereotypes, relationship stereotypes, hard work to keep a relationship. They validate that which is not their higher potential. So as they feed each other fish without learning how to fish, at one point that pond will go empty, and or whatever, a figure of speech. My point is they're not doing each other any favors. That they are upset, fine. Don't put grief, pain, your experience on a pedestal, because there is no need for it. But again, let's not invalidate, and let's understand some people have a really hard time with emotional regulation. Others don't. And some people don't have a hard time with these rejection, humiliation, injustice, betrayal, and abandonment, because you can't abandon me. I'm Maria. You can't treat me in a way that I know is unjust. I'll go to the law and I'll figure it out. I'll find who can help me. Rejection, where? Protection, no. We're different, obviously. Betrayal, what? That word doesn't mean anything. What do you, tu brute? I learned about betrayal by the time I was 18. I was like, hey, what's up with the betrayal? Cowards. And humiliation, the minute you actually treat me in a way that is humiliating, I don't know who treated you that way, but wow, I'm not going to do that. I got taught how to respect myself and others, and I have some, not only dignity, composure, but one God, but my mother taught me manners. You don't treat people in ways of being in your, let me yell at you. There's an actual saying, it's a joke. In a grave, we got a rich man and a poor man. It's Italian, I'm translating into English. And the rich man is always complaining that he's near the poor man. And the poor man looks at him eventually and is like, dude, we're both dead. Give it up. So when you meet those who have a low bar, you don't copy the low bar. And when you understand why a low bar would be there, you don't say they're evil, demons, or any of that. You say, wow, we're going to learn how to continue to treat each other with respect. That's a person of grace. That's the whole divinity thing. That's a piece of consciousness, spirit, call it what you want. It's basically a human being who has decency, self-respect, and relational integrity. And as lovely Terrio points out, it's a person who wants others to have joy, because you're not a grandiose asshole. So anytime someone, though, is treated like a little piece of shit, they can't know any of this until they look themselves in the mirror and then know it's not your fault that you have bad manners. It's not your ancestors' fault. We don't need to point the finger and blame the parents, but we will say your parents, your grandparents, or the entire human species prior to this moment that are ignoring science and want to believe whatever they want. And one day, knock, knock, can we come take your children? You keep doing what you're doing. We're not passing down that baton. We're actually going to be aware of how we work with the charges to uncharge them and build that which is a future world, because that's what intelligence does. It's not wishful thinking. So twin flames, I didn't need to spell out anything, because these are people I love. These are people who are people. These are people who have a soul and a self. And you know, the thing is, I know the stories of them. And then when I got all attachment trauma educated, I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm so surprised. I'm so shocked about who they became. No, I'm not shocked. But I do know they had choice points. And like my facade friend. And so here's the thing about the pain and why someone putting grief on a pedestal. You know Pinocchio? The story of Pinocchio. Hey, Pinocchio, how many times before you hit rock bottom, you want me to have a pity party for you? I'm so sorry. Where are my manners? This is how this human being will look at anyone who said, you let him get away. Who? Your teenage boyfriend. Well, he wasn't my dog. I didn't realize I had him on a list. No, but you let him do everything he wanted. Yeah. He's not on a chain. Do you think that's a relationship? What are you talking about? I got things to do, please do. I have trust. What is your relationship about again? I'm so confused right now. You're really, that's hilarious. Love? I don't think that's love. I think you got issues. No, nobody has issues. So this is the part. If you're emotionally mature and you're already going out, you're like, what is up with all these people? Fulfillment. It's from here. So the closest and dearest in your life get the worst of you? No, not if you're a person who has integrity. You learn how to discern your emotional state, and it's not because you have an image to uphold. It's because you do understand the words that I'm speaking, right? You want to be yourself the way that is anybody else. And actually with detachment trauma education, that's why. Humble. Humility is of those who do understand God's timber, but humility comes with the science, because anyone who is spiritual and of source and of whatever will understand exactly what the explanations are, like I did. So the ones who are distorting when they're hearing, it's because they want to hear something. I don't distort when I'm hearing. I hear. And I hear because I want to learn. And I also hear because I'm not stupid enough to think that I know everything. But I also don't let me hear based on my likes and dislikes, because I can discern my effective realism, my active state. So with twin flames, just because they're twin flames doesn't mean I own anything. But the whole testing you, that's bullshit. However, the part about what and how they describe it is actually the 4D collective with the story. It quote unquote confused me, because it was saying the cloth, right? If you are aware of twin flames, the cloth, you're one oversoul. They talk about it like if it's a layer of your skin. So you'll always perceive them. You'll pick up on them. This is your entire oversoul, but you better bet your twin flames you're going to pick up on anything and everything. So it's not confusing, not destabilizing. It's actually quite hilarious, might I say. But the point that I'm trying to get to is you won't actually need to use any of that, which are downloads, what you pick up on and shared with that twin flame, 1, 2, 3, none of it. Even though you can share some things, then you figure out they're not really following you. And then you figure out that some shit's going down that they're not really being clear on. And then you pretty much figure out, you know what, let's leave it alone, because whatever this is, and that's how it works. And then eventually you get attachment trauma educated and you understand what distortion is and what people who are dysregulated are. And so this is not something good or bad. And I've seen people who are talking about their twin flames with labels and the whole empath and narcissist. No, put all of those labels aside, because that's really objectifying and dehumanizing, and it's unnecessary. And we don't go, if you're in a relationship with someone, genuine, doesn't matter who it is, you don't put them in a box, because otherwise you're putting them in a box. You see what I'm saying? So people who need to have control need boxes. People who are not needing control because they trust and they're not actually afraid of you, they don't need a box. I have your name. I know who you are. I speak to you. I have no hiding. I don't need to hide my thoughts. When you find out that you're not actually someone who is being treated with manners, and that there's doubt and fear and judgment and casting, it's like, what? Or don't know who the fuck I am at all, or not hearing me at all. It's more of, okay, wow, seriously, this is hilarious, but okay, now I got it. Now Maria's got it. You see what I'm saying? So when you're not heard, when you're not seen, and when you're not given a hug, just a hug, you understand it's a person who doesn't know how to love. That doesn't mean they're going to learn if you yell in their face. No, actively, our lovely Sadhguru has a story on one of his websites where it says how you dissolve shame. And it's a Shaolin master, or no, that's another person, but it's a master of some sort, who basically, the story is that the disciples in this place of whatever the words were, the disciples are circling a compulsive thief. And the master says to them that they have to forgive. And they're like, no, you have to kick them out because they're going to thieve again. And he says, no, you have to forgive. And so they don't want to. And they say, if you don't forgive, we'll leave or something like that. And he says, no, you have to forgive. And the compulsive thief shatters at the feet of the master. Now, when I hear about how shame dissolves, thanks to all the smart attachment trauma educators, it's because they will be seen, they will be soothed, they will be validated, they will be understood, they will not be judged evil, they will be all, but they're making a choice to welcome themselves, might I share with you, okay? So that's why there's a big difference when we get attachment trauma educated and we see those who are healed. Then there's a big difference with the ones who are dragging pain points around, continuing to be Pinocchio and being groupies together, because I don't see the motivation. Now I just see people with a small window of tolerance getting older and then just, you know, Peter Pan and Lost Boys having fun with fantasies. There's their escape mindset. There's the not healthy perfectionist mindsets, and there's the cynic mindsets. And so when people don't get into, this lady calls it the experimental mindset, I call it growth mindset, they're not really growing. And so yeah, at the end of the day, thanks for stopping by. This was a long episode. We haven't had one for a while, my lovely listeners. We'll see if I have to cut any of it out because my computer sometimes does little things. Hopefully not, though. I enjoyed having the time to share with you all this very important topic, because seriously, I mean, again, we validate all people and all feelings. It's time we validate the intelligent, sentient beings who are simply human, mystic, spiritual or not. We exist. We're here. We didn't lose ourselves, and some actually got to become themselves. And you don't go pointing fingers at anyone because they don't know how to have manners. You actually say, I hope they one day will give me a hug, or we give each other hugs, and we're all our 3-year-olds. And if not, it's okay. I can hang out with the 16-year-old assholes like my facade friend and continue to, you know, have fun. So thanks for stopping by. Check out PayHip, check out Substack, let other people know. Be yourself the smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable, and let those micro habits do that which they do best. Grow you, and thanks again for stopping by.